JLB here, back with a brand new installment of Season 2 of Animated TV History Tour. And on today's installment, we're going to be discussing a very little known iteration of a very popular character from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. But in order to talk about him, I'm going to need the right sort of hat. Hold on a second. That's better. Gonna need this to talk about the special featured character of the show. That being Popeye the Sailor. Because on this installment, we're going to be talking about his 1960s animated series that aired between 1960 and 1962. So without further ado, let's weigh anchor and set sail. Now, in order to talk about this 60s TV series, we have to go a little bit back to the late 50s. You see, around that time, the original Popeye cartoons were released by Paramount Studios between 1933 and 1957. And by the time that series of shorts came to a close in 57, they started airing these shorts in many different TV markets and garnered huge ratings because of it. Now, King Features Syndicate, who owned the print rights to the Popeye name, didn't earn any money from the Paramount theatrical Popeye shorts being put on TV in syndication. Now, in order to capitalize on Popeye's TV popularity, what did King Features do? Well, they did the only thing that you could do at the time. Commission a new made-for-TV animated series featuring all new shorts. What could possibly go wrong? Now, Al Brodax served as the executive producer of the cartoons for King Features' then newly created TV production and distribution division known as Hearst Entertainment, named after King Features' parent company, the Hearst Corporation. The main actors from the shorts, Jack Mercer, May Ketzel, and Jackson Beck, they all returned for the series. And actually, this series was made by many different animation companies. JRA Studios, Jack Kinney Productions, Rembrandt Films, or Hallison Bachelor as they're called, and Larry Harmon Productions. But Famous Studios is the key one here because they produced the theatrical entries between 1942 and 1957. Although by this point they were renamed Paramount Cartoon Studios. And like most television shows from the 50s and early 60s, the show was created on the cheap, meaning they used limited animation techniques. And their production values contrasted sharply, very sharply, with the Popeye theater cartoons. The artwork was streamlined, simplified because of television budgets, especially in those days. The entries were completed at a breakneck pace, and let me do a comparison here. 220 shorts were made for this series in the span of just 2 years. In contrast, 231 theatrical cartoons were produced in just 24 years. Guess that proves that sometimes quality is best over quantity. But I don't think that Famous Studios really got the message on that one. Now, there were several minor changes that were made for the characters. Now, we'll start with Popeye. You see, he kept his white Navy uniform, even though World War II ended about 15 years earlier. But the only time he changes his outfit is in the episode Barbecue for Two, in which he wears his original black Navy uniform. As for Olive Oyl, she had an appearance that was a bit of a hybrid of different incarnations of her throughout her theatrical career. Her outfit reverted to the Fleischer years of a red turtleneck, a long black dress, and huge shoes. But her hair, it retained the mid to late 40s and 50s makeover initiated by Famous Studios. Except in the aforementioned episode Barbecue for Two, in which she was portrayed in her Fleischer/early Famous Studios design, and in the and in the episode Hits and Missiles, in which she wears her later famous studio's clothes of a red shirt and a collar, black dress, and black high heel shoes, which, however, was to Bluto. You see, his name was changed to Brutus because at the time, King Features believed that Paramount owned the rights to the name Bluto. However, they actually owned the name, as Bluto had been originally created for the comic strip. However, due to a lack of thorough research, they failed to recognize this and reinvented him as Brutus to avoid supposed copyright infringement problems. But when they realized their mistake, they decided, we'll just make him a totally different character. This isn't Bluto. This is a new character. So all they did was alter his demeanor slightly, change his physical appearance from muscular to obese, and replace his sailor uniform with an enormous blue shirt and brown pants. Yeah, I don't really think many people noticed, but for some of us who are actually Popeye fans, I think some of us might have noticed. Now, many episodes of this series lifted storylines directly from the comic strip found in newspapers, resulting in the inclusion of many different characters not seen in the theatrical cartoons. Characters like the Sea Hag, Tor, Roughhouse, and King Blozo. But how did this show do? Well, like their theatrical counterparts, the made-for-TV series was huge in rating success. The show aired in syndication in the US in the 90s, and notably, the 1960 short one marked the final time that May Quetzal would ultimately voice Olive Oyl, as she would then move on to different things before her tragic passing. And for those of you who have Amazon Video or on YouTube, or you happen to have a computer that has YouTube on it, the shorts are available for you to watch either on Amazon Video or on YouTube, so there's no excuse for you not to check them out. But you're probably wondering, is this 1960s Popeye TV show actually worth watching? Well, despite the limited animation, yeah, it's definitely worth it. I mean, sure, the characters are static in most scenes, probably due to the animation limitations at the time. But in all seriousness, this show is definitely a cruise that you'll want to enjoy. And trust me, you will enjoy it because I saw at least about 2 episodes, make that 3 counting one that I recently discovered, after watching the theatrical cartoons released from 33 to 57. So, I think it's safe to say that this series is definitely one that should be remembered. Even though the limited animation shows that it is a product of the 60s, that shouldn't stop you from watching the show. So with that out of the way, thanks for joining us for this installment of animated television history tour. And definitely stay tuned because we're going to be talking about a few more memorable TV shows that came on here in the US back in the 60s. So until then, stay animated and hope you enjoyed sailing with us.